the Negro, the story of the Negro is extraordinary because, see, if you say, okay, you take these people from these different places who are gathered up by other Africans. I mean, Africans always get let out of the slave trade some kind of way. I mean, they're just as, their teeth are just, the dog's teeth are just as long in their mouths as they are in the Europeans and the mouths of the Arabs, as far as I'm concerned. But you take this group of people, or these groups, you put them together, you strip them of language, of religion, of everything you can. You try to reduce them primarily to an animal state. Not only you reduce them to an animal state, but you attempt to convince them that that's the state they're supposed to be in, right? That they're not really, that this is not a bad thing. This is actually the way it's supposed to be for you because you look like that and we look like this and therefore you should be this way. But these Negroes with no non-remembrance of Africa, with no support from the plantation system, these Negroes figured out on their own that they were human beings. So imagine one day, the master is, he's had to go out there and straighten the slave out, Maybe have him whipped for him, maybe just do something, maybe dress him down, let him know that, you're a work animal who happens to be able to talk, but you're not a man. I'm the man, you're not the man. So one night he might be sitting up in his place, right, having a mint julep or something, right, And he hears out there, right, coming from those cabins, right, he hears somebody saying, "People, dawdy, dawdy, babu, be, hoo, bawdy, daw, daw, daw." Now they figured that out on their own. That's one of the greatest achievements in the history of the species, is that the Negro figured out under all that pressure that he was a man, that she was a woman, that their children were human, and they were able to pass that on. Now, I don't know of any greater achievement, finally, in the history of the species. Now, the whole of gospel music at its height, like Mahalia Jackson, the greatness of jazz at its height, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, etc. That's what they're dealing with. Now, the great failure of American literature to me is that it's not dealing with that. It's not dealing with that, because that's why everybody in the world is interested in that story. Because that story tells all of us, right, that you may have extraordinarily terrible things done to you, but you don't necessarily have to be reduced to an animal state. And see, people always have to remember that, because you can have very difficult kind of things happen to you. It's like September 11th, It taught everybody something about New York, but also about people. That, in the most extreme moments of danger, they can turn around and help each other, And all this stuff, race, sex, religion, all that can fall away, and everybody's covered with brown dust, and everybody's helping everybody else, And that's the most important thing for me to shoot for in any kind of writing. I think that's what people need to know about, and they need to know, if they can, where that comes from.
The Negro in this country, the future of the Negro in this country is precisely as bright or as dark as the future of the country. It is entirely up to the American people and our representatives. It is entirely up to the American people whether or not they're going to face and deal with and embrace this stranger whom they maligned so long. What white people have to do is try to find out in their own hearts why it was necessary to have a nigger in the first place. Because I'm not a nigger. I'm a man. But if you think I'm a nigger, it means you need him. And the question you got to ask yourself, the white population of this country has got to ask itself, North and South, because it's one country, and for a Negro, there is no difference in the North and the South. There's just a difference in the way they castrate you. But the fact of the castration is the American fact. If I'm not the nigger here, and you invented him, you, the white people, invented him, then you got to find out why.
Well,
and the future of the country depends on that, whether or not it's able to ask that question.
As a Negro and as an American, I can only hope that America has the strength and the capacity,
the moral strength,
to ask and answer that question in affirmative and constructive ways.
To face that question.
Here is the Honorable Sinclair Weeks, the Secretary of Commerce of the United States.
In the Department of Commerce, we are constantly alert to trends that mean a healthier national economy, better business for the nation as a whole. Recently, we have been interested in a rising young market, one that represents a huge potential for goods and services. I'm referring to the new Negro market. The tremendous buying power of this group is backed, of course, by an increased earning power. The average Negro family's income is at a record high. In fact, since 1939, it has increased more than the average income of all other Americans. Just take a look at a few figures. An official Department of Commerce report shows that at least 1/3 of the Negroes living in cities earn from $2,000 to $5,000 a year. Today, the average Negro wage earner brings home a paycheck 4 times larger than the one he collected in 1939. As a whole, the Negro market has a total income of about $15 billion every year. And after taxes, Negro families still have many billions of dollars to spend. Here is a buying power that cannot help but have a tremendous effect on our national economy and on business prosperity in general. When these dollars are spent for a wide range of goods, services, and employment, business everywhere is bound to feel the impact.
This new buying power has resulted in a class Negro market, a profitable, above-average income group of consumers.